pure sport application, there's a lot of attacks in the mount. And a sport application, there's multiple escapes in the mount. Your basic attacks in the mount, in the street, are strikes. All right, and again, I'm just going to go real quick because probably you guys already know your standard chokes, opening the collar, inserting my hand here, coming underneath, closing my own gate, blocking his block, open my own gate, let my own arm through, and choke. Well, great in sport. In street, not real great. Hit at me, Robert. So I'm doing this, he's hitting at me. Sure, I can hit him back still, but he'll end up a block and a choke. More application in the street would be I'm going to hit, come in this way, I reach behind the neck here, grab my bicep, come up in and crank. Smarter choke, I'm blocked of his hits in here, hit at me, my head's protected. Control I have in here, reach my own bicep, grab, and choke. Okay, example of an arm lock. A sport, we're grappling around, I'm going to start reaching, grapple around, Robert, and I can start pulling the arm, reaching up and working my spot to come into a good arm lock. In the street, that might be a little different. So in the street, he's hitting at me when I'm over here. I always have a hand here blocking. I keep tighter. I press and I control his other arm. I may slide it first, I may abandon it, come back down, re-hit, reclimb as he's hitting. Give myself some block. Oftentimes in the mount, rather than just radically wailing away, which isn't always bad either, you want to stop, control, and base out in the mount. And then choose your shots wisely, but to where it's actually a good shot. And then, when you get the chance, you come up and strike harder. The blocking while he's in the mount, it's easier for him but to block these kind of strikes, although he does offer arm lock options. One of the best ways to actually hit your opponent in a mount is an elbow, and not a side elbow, which is easy to block, but an actual elbow where you come down in between his line of blocking. So my elbow comes down, fitting into, through his guard. Then across, back, control, downward angle, which penetrates through his guard. Then I can return strike, elbow, elbow, strike, strike, base, elbow, 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 strike, strike, elbow, strike, elbow, elbow.
Well, ever seen it, it always will be. It's easy picking boxes from a tree. I can't get no satisfaction. All I want's an easy as baby.
I think ultimately, Jiu-Jitsu hasn't really changed a whole lot from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu introduced in America in the late 80s to what it is now. It has rapidly evolved in Rio and from tournaments, but it has evolved here as well too, with the American wrestling backgrounds entering in to it after a while. We tend to learn and bring things in from many other styles. My coaches, the Machados, when they came over here in America, they quickly learned other grappling styles and adapted the Greco-Roman game, the freestyle wrestling game, to blend it in with Jiu-Jitsu, because Jiu-Jitsu really is constantly evolving and constantly growing, and if you're not adapting and constantly experimenting with new techniques and new styles, then your game becomes old and dead.
In a mountain sport, grappling or in just a training where there are no strikes, it might look like this. We'll grapple around a little bit. So, I'm working my elbow escapes in here, working out in here, bringing in a knee. I might be escaping like this. I might be working my oompa escapes, trapping an arm, doing big butt, coming over and escaping. In the street, this might look a bit more like this. I start doing this, and I'm being hit. And when I first learned jiu-jitsu, back in a garage in Torrance, we learned the oompa escape first. And I always liked the elbow escape more. I thought, the oompa escape's nice, but I like an elbow escape more. And what I learned after grappling loosely with strikes is the elbow escape almost always leaves me open for a hit, because one arm has to be sacrificed while I'm being hit. But the oompa, as he strikes, I take away power of the strike by oomping, but to where I can capture an arm. He can still hit me with his other hand, but when he picks up that other hand, it's a change in balance. So application in the street, the oompa escape, where I trap an arm, is a smarter escape than the elbow escape. So again, real slow. When I'm elbow escaping, I have to sacrifice an arm. So I can only block with one arm. When I oompa escape, I can trap and control. I can even kind of block as I go. I can even wait in time as he pops his arm up, or as he comes down to try and catch his other arm. Changing sides. Oompa escape. It's an example. Okay, we're going to go over some across of body positions, rolling into a mount. Now, a lot of other grappling styles, once a guy's on his back and you're on top, it's a pin. And they'll pin various ways, either a head and arm headlock, like the judo guys, or more of a wrestling head and arm pin, or just holding the guy here like this. In jiu-jitsu, because of a guard and the limitless rules amounts, there's a lot of moves that we don't do as much. And as a smaller grappler, a standard head and arm headlock is not a great idea, because if he does turn me over, now I'm completely down on bottom, plus I have an exposed arm on an arm lock. So as a lightweight grappler, I avoid that type of a hold down. Instead, what I want to do is get heart-to-heart contact. I have one arm on this side and one arm on this side here, which blocks his hip. So if I was over on this side right here, you see I have one arm over this way and one arm here blocking his hip at all times. With both arms over here, he can escape his hip over the side using a movement of a shrimp, bringing his knee inside and puts me back in guard. Very important that this hand is back here blocking his hip. So as he shrimps out, this hand follows his hip, blocking, and plus I can change because my arms are always around him.